Mm. You know what the best cereal is ever? Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Now with more cinnamon flavor you love.
Yeah, and it even has real cinnamon sugar in every delicious bite. It fuels your morning to go to school. Yeah!
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Now more of the cinnamon taste you love.
The JB Show, interviewing important people about things, places, and other people. Filmed before a live studio audience. On today's JB Show, he interviews his mom.
Hey everybody, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. Hey everybody, and we're going to welcome our special guest, Lee Blunt. Hey Bree.
Hey Jackson.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. So, I want to talk with you about you working at Camp Aska in Alabama.
Yes.
And I want to ask you questions and...
Okay. Well, I'll be
Have a
happy to discuss that with you.
Okay.
I have to start with telling you about Camp Aska being the world's largest camp for people with disabilities. And I chose to work there, as a younger person. You're probably wondering why I'm dressed so scrubby today, and it's because this is a typical outfit that I would have worn when I worked at Camp Aska.
Okay, and what about the tools over there?
Well, we have some tools here. You see, we worked around the clock, and I'll tell you more about the job in just a moment, but these are just some of the tools that we might have used while we were there. Flashlights, a heavy set of gloves, measuring tape. Never thought in my life I'd use measuring tape, but I always had a roll with me. Tools, clippers, trimmers, etc. We just had all kinds of things because our job was so physically grueling.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, why did you choose to work at Camp Aska, and how old were you when you started working there?
Well, I started working at Camp Aska in between graduating from college and starting grad school. So I was about 21, 22. And the reason I chose to work there is I feel like my whole life had led up to working with people with disabilities. I can go all the way back to first grade, Jackson, and think about how my teacher in first grade, Miss McGaffey, assigned me to work with a child named Patricia, who at the time had cerebral palsy. All I knew as a first grader is that she couldn't walk and that she used a walker to get around. But I can go back that far and remember wanting to help her and wanting to work with her. And it followed me. That type of desire followed me throughout my schooling.
So was that one of your best friends?
She truly was, and I feel like we probably would have been friends either way. But because my teacher asked me to help her, of course we became friends. And I realized that even though she was different than me, she was still an important person. She was a good person, and that she could be a friend just like anybody else.
Okay, was there another person in school or in a club or something that you helped or you had to help that had another disability?
Absolutely. Again, in second grade, I was assigned to help a student named Clint, and I needed to help him because he was cognitively disabled, meaning that his brain power at that point was a different level than a typical second grader. And so my job was to help keep him organized and keep his things together. And I loved it. I loved being able to help him. I loved seeing him feel successful. And this type of thing followed me, through school. When I was in high school, I worked in a club that had all kinds of events for people with disabilities. But one of my most favorite is my aunt taught special ed at the school next door to us. And so we hosted Halloween and Christmas and Easter and Valentine's Day parties for them. And so as a member of that club, I got to go, help them celebrate in their classroom. And it was just a lot of fun for me and a lot of fun for them too, I think.
Okay, so when you were working at Camp Aska, was it your favorite job working there? Or have you worked somewhere better, like where you are now?
Well, I'm currently teaching special ed for 3-year-olds at a school here in town. And I have to honestly say that every position I've ever been in has been the right position for me at the time. So when I was working at Camp Aska, I was young, single, no children, and it was the best place that I could have been. Now, yeah, at that moment. Now I'm in a position where, you know, I have a lot more experience and a lot more knowledge, and I'm able to do something in a more intimate level with students, you know, on a day-to-day basis. So every job has been the right job for me at the time.
Okay. So about that, like, it's not. You've never really worked somewhere better. It's always been the same. It's always been good for you at that moment in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when did you like hear about Camp ASCA, and what were your thoughts on it? How did you feel about it? Was it good? Do you think it was a good program, bad program?
Well, Jackson, I heard about it when I was in school, in college, and I went and volunteered a weekend. After I volunteered that weekend, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And because I was graduating in February and not starting at school again until August, I knew I had the time. And so I heard about the school, you know, I probably saw a bulletin board flyer, not about the school, the camp, a bulletin board flyer. I, you know, called, expressed interest, and I was able to be hired as a program staff person. A program staff person is somebody who runs the camp. I mean, we did everything. We did maintenance. If something was broken, we fixed it. If something was dirty, we cleaned it. If something needed feeding, we fed it. I mean, we did everything. And I was at that stage in my life where it was probably the most responsibility I'd ever had. But I enjoyed every second of it.
So, as a mother right now with 4 kids, is it more responsibility and hard work now, or was it back then?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Feeding the pigs back then with slop from the leftovers in the kitchen was pretty easy. And those pigs, they never complained about what I cooked or anything. So it might be a little bit harder now, being a mom of 4, than working at the farm. But yeah, I think it's a little more challenging to be a mom.
Okay, so what were your thoughts on it when you first saw that flyer and you first emailed
I just thought, this is something I can do. This is something that would be fun for me. It would be a good experience for me. And it just sounded adventurous. I'd never done anything like this before. And it turns out I met some really great people while I was there. And here's a picture, actually, of some of the guys that I worked, and ladies that I worked with. And, I mean, we stay in touch to this day. And it was just such a great experience to be able to be with these people and to learn along with them. We just really had a great time.
Okay. What did you struggle with working there? Because I know it was a hard job. You said you have to be very responsible. You did pretty much everything, maintenance-wise. So what did you struggle with?
I think the most difficult thing for me is because we had so much freedom, you know, in our off time as a program staff member. It was remembering that I need to go to bed at night and I need to get a good night's rest because tomorrow's a hard work day.
Yes.
And I'm going to be doing a lot of physical labor. Come summertime, when we had campers there and when we had different groups coming in, it was probably each week knowing how to adapt what I was teaching in the demonstration farm to a different group of people.
Who are those people are and what kind of disabilities they are,
Exactly.
so you know how
To relate
act.
to them.
Yes.
And how to make their experience at camp special.
So, I know it's the biggest camp in the world for people with disabilities. So all the staff members working there, were they very proud that they worked there?
They
It's
were.
such a big place and a special place.
They were. And you know, everybody that worked there was there because they planned to work with people with disabilities at some point, you know, afterwards. Some people were younger and just starting off in school, and some were older and about to finish up school, and some had finished like me, and were just in a kind of in-between period. But all the people there had the intention to work, you know, in either recreational therapy or, like I was going to at the time, help people with disabilities find jobs. So, yes.
Okay. So, like, when you were working there, did you have, like, a lot of friends there? And you pretty much knew everybody?
Yeah. I mean, when I started out, it was just like the 8 of us that lived together in a house. And so that was my friend group. When summer started, all the other camp counselors came in and all the other program staff that ran different parts of the camp. So, yeah, I mean, our staff there, we were amazing friends. And we did a lot of fun things outside of camp, too. because you had to have a good camaraderie to work together. So.
Okay. What was your favorite thing to do there? Like run the farm, run the activities, or like if you got a break, actually doing the activities by yourself?
I could say all of that was fun. I mean, we had such fun programming available to our campers. We had, the ski boats and the tubing, and we had a ropes course that we ran and a mini golf course. We had 2 kinds of animal experiences. One was a wild animal experience where we had a bear and a mountain lion, along with some other things like raccoons and deer that you could actually pet. They were so tame. But then we also had the demonstration farm, which was where I worked. And I mean, I loved being program staff, doing all the specialty things in the spring, but come summer, I got to really, really focus on just the demonstration farm, and I loved that. I loved learning how to teach about the animals. That was really my first teaching experience, and here I am, 15 years later, I'm teaching.
So, going to Camp ASCA, teaching in the demonstration farm, did it help you to this day?
Absolutely. It helped me to realize that I have to adapt what I'm presenting to the group that I'm presenting it to. It helped me to realize that each individual, even though their disability may be the same, Jackson, they are very different and they have different needs. I think it helped me to know what's interesting to kids and adults and what's not interesting. Yeah. Helped me in a lot of ways.
That's about all I have, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Jackson, and for this opportunity. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, guys. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you for coming. Bye.